Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on wherever you are. Scott Luton, Greg White here with you live on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's live stream. Gregory, how we doing?
I was just thinking about how fortunate I feel that there are really only those three classifications: morning, afternoon, evening, because we're probably covering 20 time zones right now. So you could go really deep if you wanted to. Good, late, or late morning, early afternoon. But I think that you covered it.
Well, we try to keep
Doing
it as
well. How are
simple.
you, Scott?
Doing, doing wonderful. We try to keep it as simple as we can around here. So, but
Thank you.
most
It helps me
importantly,
a lot.
we welcome everybody where they're tuned in globally, our global Supply Chain Now family. And Greg, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about some critical key insights from one of the leading transportation industry resources. It's the U.S. Bank Freight Payment Index for quarter two, 2022. Can you believe we're already in quarter three? It's unbelievable, Greg.
Yeah, and all I have to say about these last couple of index presentations is, dude,
Man,
stuff is getting expensive.
you're quoting Ashton Kutcher from Dude, Where's My Car here on Supply Chain Now. I love
Dude,
that.
where's my freight?
Well, so on kidding aside, we're going to be gaining key takeaways from the freight payment index and what's really going on right out across the market, coast to coast. We're going to dive into what the data is saying and getting some key perspective from a couple business leaders here with extensive experience in global supply chain, transportation markets, you name it. But Greg, before we say hello to a few folks, and before we bring on our guests, hey, we've enjoyed ongoing collaboration with U.S. Bank for several years now. One of the leading financial institutions involved in powering the transportation industry forward. As we all know, that's the backbone of the global supply chain industry here. So it's been quite a series, huh?
Yeah, it has. And man, $37 billion worth of transactions, right, in 2021.
Wow.
And every indication is that just sheer dollar volume, this year will blow that away. But the number of transactions, not just the dollars, is what matters as well, because every one of those is a data point that allows us to determine what's going on regionally and nationally in terms of transportation. And are people shipping more? Are they paying more? Are they both? And sometimes the answer is no to one and yes to the other. And like I said, this quarter, it's going to be an emphatic yes to one. And I bet a lot of people can guess what that is. So yeah, I'm glad that they gather this data. They touch so many freight transactions, and that's what makes this analysis so valuable.
Yeah, well said there. $37 billion last year alone. So, okay, well, let's say hello to a few folks, and then we're going to welcome in our guests here today. Hey, quick side note to the production team. Big thanks to Chantel, Amanda, and Catherine for all the work they do. Y'all may have seen the note. Let's check on the sound for everybody, if we would. Catherine, Amanda, and Chantel, make sure everybody's plugged in. Okay, so Greg, we've got quite an audience around the world. Syed from Bangladesh via LinkedIn. Great to have you here. I'm looking forward to your perspective on the conversation we're having here today. This individual is from Scottsdale, Arizona. And folks, if you get, Greg's going to say something about this probably, but if you get this notification and it says LinkedIn user rather than your profile, it just means you've got a setting on your LinkedIn profile that doesn't share your information with third parties. You can change that, or you can keep it like that. Our team will try to figure that out. Okay. Look here. We got
Don't need a weather report from Scottsdale, Arizona.
That's right.
So if the calendar hasn't shifted much, it is monsoon season, so it will be sunny, a deluge of rain. The streets will be flooded, and 30 minutes later, they'll be completely dry.
Man, I've seen some pictures here lately of that pulse storm, but we'll have to come back to that. Look at this legendary listener right here. David has tuned. I saw where David and Peter Bolle got together.
Yeah, good pick too, by the way.
Yes.
Right?
David, you're looking great, man. Great to have you here with us today.
Looks like they were watching some UFC while they were hanging out together.
Looks like they were eating some great food. So, David, hope this finds you well. Great to have you back. Of course, I mentioned Catherine, Chantel, Amanda, making it happen behind the scenes. Monica, via LinkedIn, is back with us from Seattle. You remember that, Greg, right?
Yeah, this new sunshine logo or emoji or whatever is that new? I haven't seen that yet, but I dig that.
We'll get our research team on LinkedIn
Yeah,
emojis.
I'd like to find out where that's come from, Scott.
Okay. Michael Aver is back with us, of course, from the ATL. Great to have you here via LinkedIn. I always enjoy your perspective. Chiku from Scottsdale, Arizona, via LinkedIn. Great to have you here today. Looking forward to your perspective. Nasreen, good morning to you via LinkedIn. Let us know where you're tuned in from. We love to make those connections. Greg, David is a current Hall of Famer. Shelly is working on being a Hall of Famer with us too, right?
Yeah, no doubt. We need to learn more about her story, don't we?
Yes, we do. And she hails from Colorado. And who knows, we might have one of our esteemed panelists headed to her neck of the woods soon. We'll see. Joey, great to have you here. U.S. Bank Stadium. Let's go.
Yeah.
From Minnesota. He's headed to New York shortly. Joey, great to have you back with us here today. And David is confirming he had a great dinner the other night. Greg, I saw pictures from Peter Bolle. I think Ossobuco. I say that right? Ossobuco.
Ossobuco.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry. I've got the wrong. I always have a
you
hard
nailed
time.
it the first time.
Oh, did I? Put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. You know how I'm really good at doing that. Brenda Allen, great to have you back with us here today. Congrats on your big opening. I think I got that right. Kenny Bob's Foods opened their production lines, and it looks like the chamber was out there. The whole community was supporting it. So great. That's great news, Brenda. And good morning to you. And finally, Stephen Bush from London. Wait a second. Kennesaw, Georgia. Okay.
I could see how you could confuse the two, right?
Okay.
Both full of Epicurean delights.
That's right. Stephen, great to see you here today. Looking forward to your perspective. Okay. So we are going to welcome in our two guests here today. Are you ready to do this, Greg?
Yes.
Okay. All right. With no further ado, we have an incredible panel here with us today. We're going to be bringing on Bobby Holland, Director, Freight Data Solutions at U.S. Bank,
right,
and Donovan Kirkland, Vice President, Global Logistics with the Clorox Company. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Donovan, how you doing?
Doing great. How's it going, Scott? Greg?
Doing wonderful.
Yeah, good to have you with us.
Let's start off the conversation with at least getting to know you a little bit better. So let's start with, your journey, and then we're going to ask you about one of your passions after you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to in supply chain.
Yeah, it sounds good. One, just thank you for this opportunity. I'm excited to be here with you today. As I said, I'm Donovan Kirkland, and I have the privilege to lead the global logistics organization for the Clorox Company. Actually been in this role since January of the year, so I'm a little bit new, but coming up to speed fast. Been with Clorox 8 years, but if you look at the totality of my career, all supply chain and a little bit here and a little bit there, transportation, planning, quality, manufacturing, quite frankly, was the lion's share of my career, especially early on.
Manufacturing has got to be, in my time I spent in manufacturing, I met some of the brightest, brilliant, innovative, hardworking people. I mean, it's a wonderful sector to be in, isn't it, Donovan?
Absolutely. I mean, I was raised that the heartbeat of the supply chain is inside the plant. So you don't make it, you can't sell it, or it actually makes it increasingly difficult.
Sure it does. You can sell it, you just can't deliver it.
Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't last long, right, Greg?
Right.
But the really the thing I love the most about the plant is the people.
Yeah.
Right. You have to get the results through the people. And, I always had a saying, I'll take a good team with an old line over a new team, a new line and a bad team any day, because that good team will make an old line run. They'll figure out how to make it run. So
I'm with you. Yeah. All right. So Donovan, I thought you were making a soccer or a football allusion there with different line changes and whatnot, but you're talking production lines. But it's still a great segue into learning one of your passions in life. and I'm going to ask you. But Donovan, we've had an opportunity to have a couple pre-show conversations with you. Really have enjoyed those. You bring so much to the table, but you are very passionate about the Atlanta United, right?
Absolutely.
And the game itself, right?
The game itself. Yeah, I'm probably non-traditional if you look at my age range into being an American, but I love soccer, or football as the world refers to it. And I've been I live in the Atlanta metro area, been here since around 99. And so when they introduced the team in 2017, I finally found a team that I could call mine in the Atlanta metro area. So yeah,
somebody arrived after you, right? Yeah.
Right. So I try to go as many matches as I possibly can. Rough season, a lot of injuries, but we're only one win outside of the postseason. 14 matches to go. I'm betting we're going to make it, and we're going to level out, get our chemistry back, and make a run at it.
I love it.
That's what get back to that prowess of the 2018-2019 season.
Man, I love that. And, they're making, we've had a leadership change, right? The coach, I can't remember the gentleman's name, got a really big opportunity.
The president, Darren Eales, he's going to Newcastle, I want to say. Newcastle.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, but he was the architect,
right,
of the whole club. I mean, which quite frankly, it's probably a Harvard business case study, because when you think about it, the Atlanta United, they lead league attendance by far.
Right.
So Atlanta United is probably 45,000 a match. Next closest, I think, is like 27. So
wow.
Yeah. So he architected it all. So yeah, we're gonna miss him.
Well,
fantastic facility, but I got to ask you, Donovan, are you one of those loonies that comes in with the drums and everything and sits in that one end?
I have yet to sit in a supporter section, as it's called. I have marched in with them, but no, I'm not going to jump for 90 minutes straight up and down.
They're animals.
Yeah,
they are animals. Yes,
but that's part of the mystique of coming to the Vins and playing the five stripes, as we like to call ourselves.
Yes. It's intimidating for the other team. You can see it happen when they get down to that end of the field.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So we got to go to a game. I'm going to hold you to it. I'm a newbie. Maybe we get Greg up from where he is, and we all go to a game together. We tailgate, and you got to teach me what I should be looking at as our former world champion Atlanta United continue the fight, the good fight. Is that a deal?
We'll do that. We'll definitely do that.
Okay. So, Bobby, how you doing?
Everything was working fine in the green room, and then
funny how that works.
Hey, Murphy's Law is alive and well. I really appreciate making the adjustments on the fly, and it sounds like we got you now. We can hear you, and you can hear us, right?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, hey, we've been getting to know Donovan Kirkland a little bit better, right? Filling in a little bit of time. Hey, those things happen on live TV, live programming, all those things happen. But let's refresh everyone's memory of your background, right? So, Bobby, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I've been with U.S. Bank for going on 6 years as a product manager for the Freight Data Solutions team. Prior to that, I had a pretty extensive background in software engineering and software architecture. So it kind of dovetails well into my responsibilities as a technical product manager at the bank.
Yes, where you've got your finger on the pulse. We talked about the scope of all the data that you and the team are looking at. But hey, really quick, Greg, I'm going to turn it over to you in just a second as we keep level setting before we dive into the second quarter 2022 Freight Payment Index. Let's see here. David is rolling out a red carpet for Donovan. I appreciate that. And David, yes, it was all planned to keep Donovan on his toes. I love that, David. I just saw that earlier. Let's see. This LinkedIn user is talking about the monsoon season in Arizona. Greg, you can probably speak to that a little bit. Looks like there's some programming and coding to navigate through it. Michael says he got to understand operations from the ground up. Working the floor was a great experience early on in his career and helped him relate to what the workers deal with as his career progressed. Great comments there. Yeah, Michael, we can all relate to that. Joey, loves soccer. Minnesota just built a new stadium. Okay, Joey, we'll have to have a supply chain and soccer live stream conversation at some point soon. Let's see here. David wants to place a friendly wager on that September 10th game, Donovan. He says TFC forever.
Is that Toronto Football Club?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, David, you're making a splash in your comeback here at Supply Chain Now. All right, and we may have just lost. Okay, there we are. Bobby, you're still with us. Can you still hear us?
I am.
All right, great. All right, rolling with the punches here at Supply Chain Now. So, Greg, where are we going next with our esteemed panel?
Well, let's while we have Bobby, let's have him share a little bit with us about what makes U.S. Bank such a great resource for this data. Look, we've been doing this, Bobby. We're going on 3 years now, man. But there have to be people who haven't seen us do this yet. So maybe just share a little bit about what makes you such a great resource at U.S. Bank for this kind of information.
Well, it's our perspective on the freight marketplace. We developed this from processing transactions, $37 billion as of currently, $37 billion annual invoice processing. And as you can imagine, we generate a lot of data from that. And so in our quest to add value to our customers using this data, we produce the Freight Payment Index. Again, it's our view of the marketplace, and it provides another data point for our customers and other users of it to be able to make decisions about their business.
Yeah, and while Bobby, we might as well let everybody know this now. Bobby works for a bank. He can't use forward-looking statements, but I think a lot of companies use this is kind of what's happening to identify whether there are trends in the marketplace. But Donovan, I'm curious, in your role at Clorox, tell us a little bit about how you use the index.
Yeah, absolutely. And you gave me a great segue. But I actually the index really, and more so the insights that come from the index, right? We start with rear view. The strategy we employed, did it play out as we expected? And if it didn't, why, right? And what do we believe that to be the case? And then we use it as a proxy, if you will, to say, that whole principle of what happened will continue to happen unless something changes. Let's look at that going forward, and what might change. What do we know that's out there that could potentially change? And so it helps us to hone our strategy, to critique it, to benchmark. Where are we sitting against the industry average, and should we be making moves left or right?
Love that.
Yeah, that is a great analysis.
It really is. Hey, really quick, want to welcome in Shashi back with us. He was with us yesterday, made a lot of great contributions. Shashi, great to see you. I believe from the UAE. Shashi, correct me if I'm wrong, but great to see you here today. Okay, now that we've set the table a little bit, Bobby and Donovan both have shared a little about their journey and what they do. We've talked a little bit about the Freight Payment Index and US, the scope of it all. And then Donovan just shared, how he and his team use it. Bobby, we're ready to dive right into this quarter two's Freight Payment Index. You ready to go?
Yes.
So let's start then, like we always do. Let's start at the national level, right? Coast to coast. Give us some observations that you're seeing kind of generally, and then we'll go region by region. Okay,
so the national index was up about 2.3% overall. In shipments, the spend index was up as well, 3.3%. Small numbers, but considering that it had good velocity, those are pretty good. And again, I think the terminology is being bannered around as headwinds. There's so many headwinds being faced. We have spending patterns, moving more from household goods spending into service as we go into the middle of the year. We have high prices. I think it hit record level in June. We have labor issues on the West Coast. There's a lot of things going on. Manufacturing output is up, which we'll discuss more as we walk through the regional indexes. But there's a lot of things that are going on, a mixed bag of things, if you will. And to see that things are still going up, it kind of takes away a little bit from the common thinking that we were headed into a freight recession. We're not in a freight recession. Again, there's a lot of different reasons for why, the data shows that that's not true, and empirically the same. But again, there are, some transitory things going on in the marketplace, things around. So,
okay. I appreciate those initial thoughts. We're still losing about every seventh or eighth word, by my count at least, Bobby. But hey, we're going to work through it. And the good news, folks,
it's one of his 5 sisters playing Fortnite in his house right now.
Or it could be his brother too.
Right, or his brother,
right?
Can you guys
the whole
hear me
family's
better
there.
now?
The place is crowded.
Yeah, I think that's a little better.
Yeah, Bobby,
Yeah.
I think that is better. And thank you. You're a saint. Sometimes technology throws all kinds of last minute challenges at us. I really appreciate your patience and innovation working through it. Hey, really quick, folks. If you'd like to download a free copy of the second quarter 2022 U.S. Bank Freight Payment Index, we've dropped a link to the comments there. And we can, we're having a little snafu there. You can download it and you can read along as we're offering up analysis, right? We're just about, once we've got Bobby back, we're going to be going region by region. We're going to get him to share with us what the data is saying, and then we're gonna get Donovan's comparison and contrasting from what he and his team are seeing, boots on the ground. Okay,
Scott, what I was if I could throw something in
please.
I mean, it's getting it at this level, industry level, is great, and then folks like ourselves, you got to tease out, how it applies to you. Even Bobby mentioned some things around specific industries, right? And it does apply differently in different quarters to industries. And there's also a level of, especially if you look at the shipments, you got to look at where in your supply chain, because each part of the supply chain and how you ship, right, whether it's to the customer, or whether it interplants to your warehouses, have different phenomenon that aren't the same every quarter. And so that story, you have to start to distill down and get a little, double click, triple click to get to the level where you can actually take some action or make adjustments in your strategy.
I love it.
You could be using different modes based on the different node in the supply chain that you're talking about, right?
Modes, different supply chain strategies.
Yep.
One of the things we saw, you back up before that, the consumer and consumption, at least for our markets, hadn't changed, but you heard a lot around the customers were starting to bring down their inventory levels. And so, that influenced shipments, not so much the consumption of the consumer, but the customers themselves were saying, hey, we're a little bit too heavy. We want to pull down.
Yep. So, Greg, Donovan is illustrating why we like to marry, the data side and what Bobby and his team are seeing with the senior, practitioner side, with what, how they use it and what they're seeing out there, boots on the ground. So let's go region by region. Well, Greg, hang on a sec. Before Bobby, we got you. Can you hear us?
Oh yeah, I can hear you guys fine.
Okay.
It's me that's.
Good.
I've heard you the whole way through.
Okay.
I just don't know why my stuff is going haywire all of a sudden. So I apologize.
Well, we're going to get through it. We got your back, and we're going to get through it like we always do.
Is it snowing up there yet, Bobby? I mean, it is July. It's almost time for winter. So
tornadoes are threatening, though.
Oh man,
that's another story.
Hey, really quick, we're about to go region by region. But Greg, based on kind of what you've heard Bobby share as he was talking about those general observations coast to coast and what Donovan just shared, your quick initial thoughts.
Yeah, my initial thought was exactly one of the things that Bobby opened with, which is, remember, last quarter we were all speculating on whether we were on the edge of a freight recession, right? And clearly, while in some cases, few cases, actual shipments did go down, they didn't go anywhere near where kind of the frenzy was last quarter. And also rates went up so dramatically that that obviously the dollar volume went up. But and we're going to talk about this as we kind of tease out each region. Even the shipment volume went up far more than I expected coming out of Q1. So,
yep. Well said. All right. A lot of consider everything level setted. We are ready to go, ready to dive in region by region. And we're going to start with, Bobby, the Northeast region. So tell us some key observations there.
The Northeast region had a couple surprises. It recorded the strongest gain among the 5 regions. It was up 7.3% over first quarter.
Yep.
And the largest gain in 3 years. Higher factory output is likely helping volumes up here. And, it's interesting because, when we were coming out of 2021 into 2022, manufacturing was, teetering. A lot of struggles. But it seems like all the decisions that were made to try to mitigate the risks from supply chain issues, while those issues are still there, we can kind of see how that's shaking out. So manufacturing output was up.
So really quick, in fact, manufacturing output, according to a variety of third parties, was up and actually expanded all 3 months of second quarter, to your point, Bobby.
Yep, 4.8% in May, 3.6% in June alone, according to some estimates. And the thing to take into account as well with all of these numbers is if you compare them to, in most cases, to the year over year, you can still see that the velocity is still high, where we still are 17% in spend year over year above last year for the Northeast. It had a modest rise in spend of only 2.1%, but again, 17% over last year.
Right.
In shipments, 8.8% over last year. So Northeast, like I said, is pretty solid as far as our numbers go this quarter.
So Donovan, let's mix in you and your team's perspective. What'd y'all see in the Northeast?
Yeah, it's interesting. This is the part, like I say, where you have to then tease it out and apply it to yourself. If you look at our network, we don't have the level of manufacturing footprint in that region, so we didn't experience that same phenomenon. But it's simply a factor of we're not represented as such. When you look at the way we're laid out, most of our transportation would be around customer shipments in that space, and so it wouldn't be linked to either manufacturing, raw materials coming in, or even plant movement. So we didn't quite see that, but it's related to our network and how we're designed.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Greg.
Yeah, I think that's interesting to think about it from that standpoint because, to the point you made earlier, Donovan, your customers, if they had facilities or they were stationed or headquartered in those areas, that is why you would be shipping there. And if they're not, then this particular region doesn't impact you like it does globally. So it's fascinating to see how the geography of a company, right, and its customers impact that. And I think, as I've thought about, Donovan, everything you've said, it really exposes the complexity of supply chain, not just where your company is, but where your customers are. Said I was working on my vocabulary word.
That subject and that verb did not agree there, Greg.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, that's from a lot of
and it's customer based, right? But that's the farthest end of supply chain. But there's also that element of transportation to your actual manufacturing facilities. So our customer base exists there. That didn't change, but we don't have a manufacturing footprint that's as heavy in the Northeast like some others may.
Got it.
All right, really quick, we're going to move on to the Southeast here. I want to welcome in Danny via LinkedIn. Danny, great to have you here. Let us know where you're tuned in from. Nazrin from Iran, great to have you here, as always. Let us know what you're seeing. In fact, to all the folks in the cheap seats, the skyboxes, whatever we're calling it here today, let us know what you're seeing.
Loge level.
Yeah, that's a new one. We'll add that too. Let us know what you're seeing in the freight markets. Okay. Let's dive into the Southeast, Bobby. What y'all see there?
The Southeast on the shipment side was down not only quarter over quarter, 4.3%, but also 12.1% year over year. But on spend, it was up 3.2% quarter over quarter, but 14.3% over last year. So shipment volumes were down. And again, there are a lot of reasons for that. Housing drives a lot of the freight down in there. For example, when we, see natural disasters that usually occur in the Southeast, hurricanes and sometimes major storms, subsequently down the road, you'll see a rise in housing starts as they rebuild. but that's down. But tourism is up. But because services, as tourism is considered versus household goods, retail, tourism is up, but it's not as truck intensive,
Right.
as some of the other as goods are. So,
well, Bobby, unless you pack like my family, we got we got about 3 trucks loaded and ready to go, and that diesel prices, man, killing us. But I digress. So tourism isn't as truck laden. What else in the Southeast there, Bobby?
Still being affected by high diesel prices. Again, if you kind of look at either coast, they have the higher diesel prices the highest diesel prices, with the West kind of beating us all up. But they're still pretty high on the East Coast as well. So a lot of that is buoying up the spending as well. So,
yep, I appreciate that. Okay, Donovan, Southeast, what sticks out?
Yeah, so for us, something very similar. But here goes I guess if the other one's a double click, here's a triple click.
Okay.
So, we do have a manufacturing footprint in that space, but then you have to look at, what commodities, what products are we producing. We have a heavy disinfecting footprint there. And the reality is, across this quarter, and even this somewhat quarter before, the phenomenon associated with consumption and disinfecting, people have leveled out, right? I mean, there was obviously at the beginning of the pandemic, it was significantly influenced. And even as we saw different strands, particularly in the U.S., as we're talking Southeast, you would see reactions. And we've gotten to a point now where those reactions are not as significant as they were before. And so as a result, we're starting to see, because disinfection is mainly in that region, it's stabilized and starting to kind of tailor off to some degree.
Yep, I appreciate that, Donovan. Greg, what sticks out to you?
Well, I would think with all this tourism that you'd be selling the heck out of Kingsford charcoal down here, but it may not produce a lot of truckloads, Donovan.
They do.
It produces a lot of joy, so that's what matters.
Yeah. Well, go light up tonight, and then that'll be another truck I can ship into.
Count on it. Well, I think another thing we got to think about is I don't know the depth of this impact, but the backup at the Port of Savannah just continues to grow. Last quarter, when we were looking at it, it was around 14 to 17 ships on average. Now it's averaging almost 40 ships waiting outside of the Port of Savannah because they've got a lift down. And I've got to believe that is keeping some trucks off the road. There's a ton of intermodal that goes down I-95 and I-16, Interstate 16, the only interstate that doesn't cross a single state line. And it's notable. I mean, frankly, to drive between Atlanta and where I am, I can't not drive down 95 or 16, but it's noticeable the level of volume that has tailed off over the course of the last 3 months. I don't know how much impact that has, but it's got to have some impact.
Agreed.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of that backlog is also contributed to, folks are looking for alternate ways to get into the country I won't steal the tagline to the West Coast just yet. And so,
yeah,
but if there's any other ports you can get into, I think folks are looking at that option.
You're right. I think they are more actively looking than when we first started to see these backups on the West Coast. Now, I think the shipping companies are much, much more flexible to rerouting the vessels.
Yep. Hey, we gotta, anytime your mom joins a live stream, as evidently my mom has here, you got to give her a platform. I love you, Mom. She says, please tell Donovan that I love my Clorox products.
I see it in the chat. I see. You have to let me know if there's any specific ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
She'll get back to you. I promise.
It's funny. Did she join when we had Rick on also? Or
I think she did.
I think so too.
Did.
Yeah.
She hails from Aiken, South Carolina. So love you, Mom. Great to have you here. Okay.
Nice.
So we've covered the Northeast. We've covered the Southeast. Let's move, Bobby, to the Midwest. Tell us what you see there.
Okay, with the Midwest was up shipments wise 6.8%, down year over year, just a slight 0.3%. In spend, it was up 2.4%, but it's still cruising at 16%, almost 16% over last year. So again, really solid. Again, strong manufacturing output is big in the Midwest. And so we kind of see evidence of that, given their numbers.
Yep. And Donovan, let's talk about the Midwest. What do you see there?
We line up very closely to that, especially when we talk about the manufacturing output. Two of our products that saw uptick at the beginning of the pandemic and have not tailored off. They're produced in those regions, and so we're seeing exactly what we've seen here: manufacturing output. And fortunately, we don't see it actually going down. So that's a positive thing.
That is a good thing. Okay. And then switching over to Greg, who some folks may know is home state, Kansas, centered right there in the Midwest. What do you hear between Bobby, Donovan, and your own observations, Greg?
Well, we were talking about automotive last quarter, right? And some of the concerns around that. And now vehicles are starting to hit lots, right? It's not, you don't go to your new car dealer and buy a used car now. You can actually buy a new one. So I think we're starting to see some of the impact of that, as so many cars are produced in the Midwest.
Yep. Agreed. Okay. Moving right along. We've covered the Northeast, Southeast, Midwest. And folks, you can, as I mentioned, you can download this report for free and sign up for it, which comes out every quarter with the link that we've dropped in the comments, also freight.usbank.com. Bobby, let's talk about the Southwest. What's going on there?
Southwest, modest gains, 2.2% quarter over quarter in shipments, 2.6% year over year in shipments, 4.8% in spend, but almost 30% over last year in spend. Again, same thing, a lot of international trade, cross-border trade with Mexico, some of the highest border crossings truck-wise, in the season. So again, a lot of that cross-border traffic is buoying them up. There's still energy production in the Southwest. So again, we see that reflected in the numbers.
Yep. Well said there. And also speaking of that cross-border trade, looks like Canada and the U.S. are challenging Mexico and some of its energy policies. A lot more to come that may impact that cross-border trade in the months to come. But Donovan, from a Southwest perspective, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, it is interesting insights to read. Again, this is a function of our network, not that cross-border trade is not as big of a play for us, so we didn't see that. I mean, we see more of it probably from a raw material perspective, but
yep.
it wasn't as big of a impactor for us specifically.
Okay. And Greg, the Southwest, you're deeply familiar with the Southwest from your Arizona pursuits. What are you seeing in the Southwest there? So mysterious. We're building Greg up like he's where in the world is Carmen Sandiego or something. But Greg, tell us about what you saw in the Southwest.
Yeah, and I may or may not have set foot in Texas a few times also. I'm legally obligated to state that I am actually allowed back into the state. No, I mean, I think what we're seeing in the Southwest is just a slight uptick in shipments, but a huge uplift in terms of the cost, and a stunning, frankly, uplift. And I got to tell you, I'm at a loss to try and figure out why that is. I think cross-border, yes, we're finally getting the USMCA. I think we're starting to see some of that traffic build, and we did have kind of a breakout of cross-border transportation, but that can't be all of it, could it?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I don't understand, because I don't know how those transactions get booked, Bobby. If it's coming from Mexico, does the payment occur through your bank or a Mexican bank or both, or what?
Well, I don't know if we're talking about the same transactions. I mean, when the shipments come across the border, it still has many more steps to go before it gets to the destinations, and a lot of those carriers, the American side of the transactions are what we look at.
Got it.
And again, it's kind of the same way too. Another aspect of that is seeing how the traffic in the Gulf ports is picking up, which is going to push a lot of freight inland from there as they've migrated port volumes from ease of congestion in California, but also on the East Coast, because you remember originally when we were talking in a couple of indexes ago, we were seeing this huge uptick on the East Coast.
Right.
And then, of course, we're talking about the Gulf of Savannah, Port of Savannah upticking, but even, ports in Houston as well are starting to see traffic, large queues there because, again, as you said, and as was mentioned earlier, as these shippers seek ways to get their freight somehow inland, they're looking for every port that they can. So that may also be responsible for it because, any of those charges that are coming off of the ships are related with moving that freight out of the ports are going to be reflected in downstream and service charges.
So you are bringing us right into the West region, right? Which, by the way, before you share your insights there, Bobby, gosh, the Port of LA and Long Beach both set records for the busiest June ever on record. Speaking to some of your comments there, Bobby. All right, so Bobby, what y'all see in the West?
West Coast was another one of those mixed bags. Pretty complex there. We had just a minor drop in shipment volumes of 0.7%, but but it was still up 9% over last year. From spend perspective, it was 4.3% up, but still over 30% higher this year than last year. So, a lot of stuff going on in the ports that are causing that. Some of the congestion is eased, but now, and I think it was mentioned possibly by you, Donovan, earlier about the congestions have moved from ships offshore to containers, stacking up in the ports. I was reading an article that talked about, the possibility of introducing fines that if they were levied as of the beginning of this week would have amounted to $6.3 million.
Wow.
So you've got that thing taking place where containers are stacking up over 9 days in port, which is, I guess, a huge metric for them. Normally supposed to be around a couple days. But then also now you have AB5 causing problems. You got strikes, rail strikes that are being threatened or that are in place. So we have, slowdowns due to AB5 and the turmoil that's causing as independent contractors struggle to figure out where they're going to go and what they're going to do about that. And then there's also now, what is it called? There's a national version
of AB5. You mean?
Yeah, the national version is called Pro something. I'm sorry, don't have it.
That's all right.
But anyway, the national version is being threatened, and so that may possibly enter. I think AB5 impacts possibly around 70,000, up to 70,000 independent contractor truckers. But the Pro Act would add. That's what it's called, the Pro Act.
There we go.
350,000 truckers.
Wow.
So there's a lot of, as we said, headwinds, turmoil, a lot of complexities going on the West Coast, which kind of yields some of the interesting results that we've got. But those are some of the things that we'll be watching as we continue to look downstream. Those are some of the things that we'll be keeping our eye on, is how those impacts shake out going into the holiday season.
That's right. The West is always a bit of the stone soup, man. Whatever can go wrong, throw it in the pot with everything else, right? Donovan, talking about the West, what did you see out there?
I'm gonna give you one word.
Okay.
Uncertainty. I mean, that's really what's driving folks. Are just, uncertainty, whether it's the labor situation, right, and what you do. And the West is so linked, right, with the ports to the global ecosystem. So, and then what's going to go on in Shanghai, and so folks are just uncertain. And I think that's where you're seeing some of this kind of, hey, let's pump our brakes a little bit. Maybe we find some alternate ways to go in and out. And,
right.
It's interesting. This is just another scenario in which in the past 2 years, and I've been doing this kind of supply chain thing almost 3 decades now. I've never heard people in such senior roles in organizations talk about transportation as I have in the last 2 years. And this is just another element where I probably get a ping at least every other day saying, so what do you think is going to happen now?
Right.
And what are we doing?
Right.
And I'm not the only one. Everyone in my seat in any other organization, right? They're asking themselves and being asked the same questions. So,
man, on one hand, it's great recognition. On the other hand, man, your supply chain's in the hot seat, and they got to do something about it. So I appreciate you sharing that. It's on the tip of everybody's tongue. Really quick,
Scott, that's the kind of recognition like getting invited to the principal's office. I don't know that's I don't know that's the recognition that you.
It's never good, right?
Hey, you don't get a medal for that kind of recognition, do you?
Nazrin, I appreciate the feedback there, and I appreciate your expertise in the financial services. Mom's answering Clorox for my washing machine and Clorox wipes. How about that? And folks,
I bet that's the answer for a lot of people, right?
Well, we also dropped the link again.
Both
to
of
the
my daughter's college funds. Thank you for that. So.
That's right.
Y'all check out the freight payment index. The links there again. And really quick, this, and Greg, I'm coming to you next as we start to wrap. But the cost of diesel obviously was a big theme throughout the freight payment index. Data point there: diesel fuel averaging about $5.50 a gallon currently nationally, up 68% from a year ago. What we already know. All right, Greg.
Just under $7 on the West Coast.
Wow.
Man.
All right, so Greg, as we start to wrap, and then we're going to move into kind of your key takeaways, all key takeaways, and then not letting Bobby give any future predictions, but we're going to get Greg and Donovan's take. But Greg, key takeaways. Let's think key takeaways from all the regions. What's one or two of yours?
I can't help but believe there is some opportunism here in pricing with freight. I mean, that the volumes were up significantly, right, in the Southwest and in the West, but that the spend was up 30%. All
right. And we may have lost Greg White. Bobby and Donovan, you're still with us, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. I'll tell you, Murphy, I got to get a hold of this fella, Murphy, because he is not being easy on us here today, is he? All right.
Well, so at least for Greg, he didn't freeze in some usually when I freeze, it's this look that you never want anybody to ever see.
Right. That always happens. That always happens to me. All right. I think we got Greg back. Let's bring Greg right back in. If we can, Catherine, Amanda, there we go. All right.
Whoa, I thought you guys went away. It was me.
Oh man. All right. So Greg,
where did that start happening?
So let's take it from the top. So let's talk about, we're going to get all three of y'all's key takeaways from the quarter two 2022 freight payment index. Let's start there. So Greg, let's get your key takeaways first.
Opportunism. I think that there is unquestionably some arbitrage occurring in the marketplace. The fact that shipments were up mid-single digits, and yet in some of these regions up as much as 30% in terms of spend, there is some opportunism occurring in the marketplace, right? People taking advantage of a tight market and jacking up the prices. That's all I can believe, because this is not a substantial leap in the overall index number over last quarter, right? Yep. It's like 9 points higher on the index number. So, look, that's a wild, audacious guess, but there has to be some aspect of that occurring, and probably for all the reasons we believe.
Agreed.
We've talked about in what is it you said, Donovan? Uncertainty, right? Yes. Where there is chaos, there is profit.
So let's keep going with our key takeaways from the Q2 freight payment index. And Donovan, will come to you next. Key takeaway: beyond uncertainty being kind of the word of the day, maybe the word of the year, maybe the word of the decade. I don't know, But what key takeaways from our conversation here today?
Yeah, I mean, key takeaways, and I guess even looking forward, right? I mean, we're keeping our eye on where the spot market is going, and Greg's made some great points there, and we're asking ourselves, hey, how do we need to leverage that to understand where we're going forward, both managing service and cost, right? I mean, because they're both in that equation. And then there's this piece of we're watching very closely what's happening out there on the West Coast and the ports, because we know if it goes in a way we don't desire, it can turn our life upside down. And so, and quite frankly, to be very transparent, there are not a lot of other levers to pull to just figure that out if it does go proverbially south. So yeah, we're keeping our eyes on that, and then we're figuring out what other I'll call them contingency plays we may have.
Yep. I appreciate kind of a mix, a hybrid of key takeaways and kind of forward looking. Bobby, specifically asking you only a key takeaway or two. And then Greg, we're going to finish off with your forward looking prediction. But Bobby, what's been for you amongst all the regions, all the data, the conversation here? What's a couple of key takeaways from Q2?
One of the key takeaways, I guess, is that we can start to see some of the success of a lot of the decisions that were made the end of 2021 going into 2022. We're starting to see the impacts of those and how it's helping to mitigate some of the headwinds. But just as some of those get mitigated, we see other ones coming into play, again, particularly on the West Coast, but nationally. So you can say that things may be inching back to normal, but we just want to keep our eye. There's a lot of things we're going to keep our eyes on, and be there to document and lend perspective to as we see more of these decisions starting to shake out.
Yep. Well said, Bobby. So, hey, we got some things right. We're learning from our lessons, right? And applying them. That's good. That's good news to wrap on from you, Bobby. All right. So, Greg, while we still have Donovan and Bobby, we're going to make sure folks know how to connect with both of our wonderful guests here in just a minute. But give us, Greg, what are you expecting moving into the third quarter, moving into the second half of the year? What's your thought there?
Well, what I'm expecting, Donovan already said, uncertainty. I mean, honestly, I've never looked at one of these before and been felt so blank in terms of what to expect in the future. The other word that comes immediately to mind for me is thankfulness that I am not one of the people like Donovan who has to navigate this uncertainty right now, because it is significant and it could honestly go either way. And I can't tell you of a time before or during the pandemic that it has been so uncertain. At least right. that this report, right, this analysis foments so much uncertainty.
It's like, did y'all watch Double Dare on Nickelodeon growing up with Mark Summers, right? At the end of this game show, there was an obstacle course, a really messy obstacle course that the contestants had to go through. That is what global supply chain has been going through for a couple of years now. We need Mark Summers just giving us play-by-play. But big thanks to Donovan and Bobby, both of y'all joining us. Bobby, as always, we enjoy these quarterly breakdowns. I appreciate everyone's perseverance as we have navigated our own technological challenges here today. But hey, we've persevered, and I've really enjoyed the discussion. So, Bobby, before we let you and Donovan go, Bobby, let's make sure folks know how to find the Freight Payment Index and connect with you. How can they do that?
Freight.usbank.com will get you a subscription, and it'll be delivered to your inbox quarterly. Or you can email me at bobby.holland@usbank.com, and I'll see that you get a copy or get signed up. And my LinkedIn is another way to get a hold of me as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Whenever you are not head down into big vats of data, right, Bobby?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Wait, always a pleasure. Appreciate that. But hey, before we let Donovan Kirkland go, Donovan, really have enjoyed our pre-show conversations. Thanks for all that you brought here today. Really had a lot of fun and a ton of value. So Donovan, how can folks connect with you and the world-renowned, the Clorox Company?
It's easy. LinkedIn, just send me a request on LinkedIn, Donovan Kirkland, and we'll connect up. I look forward to. I've been looking at the chat. It's been some great chat coming through, and I've had a blast. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah,
thank you for being on with you, Bobby. I learned a lot from you.
Yeah, same here. Same
well,
here.
Hey, Donovan, on that note, we've got an Atlanta United game in our future, and hey, any cool frosty adult beverages will be on me. So, hey, really, thanks for all of your help, Bobby. Always a pleasure. Appreciate your collaboration and partnership. Enjoy your trip coming up. Big thanks again before we let him go, Donovan Kirkland, Vice President Global Logistics with the Clorox Company, and Bobby Holland, Director of Freight Data Solutions at U.S. Bank. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, gents.
All right, Greg. Whew, man, I got to share this. Back to when we lost you for a second. Donovan's like, well, whenever I freeze, I'm in like the most awkward position. Steve's like, so true. Greg always looks good in a frozen state, and David goes like Han Solo. So, man, how about that? Yeah,
is that how Han Solo was? He was like frozen.
I think so. We'll go with it. We'll go with it. Oh man. All right, but Greg, I'll tell you this panel, we're gonna have to have them back.
Undoubtedly,
when we got nice smooth sailing, because I mean, to get the yin and the yang, the data like Bobby brings, and then that senior level practitioner, with their fingers on the pulse like Donovan brought today. I thought it was a great conversation, huh?
It is, and it's good to understand the double clicks and the triple clicks, as he talked about, the level of depth that you have to go down to understand the impact on a particular company, right? I don't think we've had somebody share that much with us regionally, how a particular region does or doesn't impact their business. It's really interesting to learn that. I have to tell you, he nailed the word uncertainty. I mean, looking at this and studying this report, I'm baffled. I don't know about you. I'm sure it came through as we were talking about it, but there are just some things I just can't explain here. And I think that probably portends more uncertainty to come, unquestionably.
But you got to lean into the data and the resources out there so you can be more informed, whether it's the conversation we've had here today with Bobby, Donovan, and Greg, and all the folks in the comments. The things like the index, the freight payment index, y'all check that out. Again, we've got the link here, one click away from signing up for that. But healthy
Even
discussion.
If all it tells you, Scott, is that there is to expect uncertainty. At least you've got eyes on that, right? And you can provision, right? The thing we need to do more in supply chain is anticipate uncertainty and provision for it.
That's right. And lead differently, right? We've had so many planning and forecasting conversations here lately on supply chain now. That has been a masterclass in and of itself. But I'll save that for later. Greg, I appreciate you joining us on these quarterly conversations as always. Big thanks to Dan and the gang at U.S. Bank. Big thanks again to our production team. Appreciate all of your wonderful work today, Chantel, Amanda, Catherine, Clay, you name it. And folks, thanks for everybody that showed up and brought their comments. It's great to have you be a part of this conversation. So on behalf of our entire team here, on behalf of Greg and Scott Luton, your fearless host, I think, we want to challenge you, hey, to do good, to give forward, and to be the change that's needed. And we'll see you next time right back here at Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.